The desert holds its silence like a secret. But rising from the dust of ancient Mesopotamia are structures that seem almost too deliberate, too precise, too ambitious for their time. The ziggurats, towering, tiered monuments built by the Sumerians, stand not as crumbling ruins of devotion, but as enigmas carved in stone. Were these massive stairways truly built only to bridge mortals with their gods? Or could they have hidden purposes far beyond worship, purposes that whisper of energy, resonance, and a technology we no longer understand? Because every shadow they cast, every echo they hold, and every alignment they obey with the heavens seems to hint at something the ancients wanted to keep coded within their bricks. And tonight, we unlock what some call the Ziggurat Code. The official story is simple. Ziggurats, we are told, were temples, holy stairways for priests to climb, carrying offerings to gods who lived above. Their sheer height was meant to bridge earth and sky, human and divine. But the deeper you look, the more that story begins to fracture. Why build such massive, complex structures for ceremonies that could have taken place on flat ground? Why stack millions of bricks into a staircase reaching toward the heavens, only to crown it with a small shrine? Why engineer entire cities around them? Cities whose lifeblood pulsed toward these towers. Archaeologists uncover fragments of an alternative purpose. Beneath the religious veneer, ziggurats seem to obey patterns of geometry, vibration, and power. The bricks themselves, sun-dried and fired, were chosen for their conductive properties, layered like circuits within a giant machine. Some researchers whisper that these weren't merely houses of the gods, but devices, massive instruments designed to harness forces hidden in nature itself. And if that is true, then every tier of the ziggurat was not just a step closer to heaven, but a step deeper into a code we still struggle to read. Because the Sumerians may have left us something far greater than a temple. They may have left us a blueprint. The ziggurats were not placed at random. Every angle, every stairway, every platform obeyed something greater than human convenience. When researchers mapped their orientation, a pattern emerged. Many ziggurats aligned precisely with the four cardinal directions, their stairways facing sunrise or sunset at solstices, their shadows marking seasons like a colossal calendar. They were not just monuments, they were instruments. But the strangeness does not stop with the stars. Step inside the remaining chambers, or even stand in the ruins where walls once stood, and something eerie happens. The sound changes. A whisper can carry. A chant can reverberate until it feels larger than the human voice that made it. Acousticians who have studied Mesopotamian sites note that these structures seem to amplify resonance, as if designed to transform sound into something more. Rituals turning into vibrations that could alter states of mind, or perhaps channel energy itself. Was it coincidence? Or was sound, resonance, part of the ziggurat's hidden code? Imagine a night thousands of years ago. Priests chanting in unison, drums echoing against baked brick walls, their voices climbing the tiers toward the heavens as stars aligned overhead. To the common eye, it was worship. To those who built it, perhaps it was engineering. Because sound, like starlight, is a language, and the ziggurats may have been built to speak both. Beneath the towering steps of the ziggurats, archaeologists have uncovered hints of chambers long sealed, tunnels half collapsed, and rooms whose purpose is still unknown. Official records are silent or lost, but fragments of tablets and inscriptions speak of rituals carried out away from the eyes of common people. Why hide rituals in secret rooms beneath a monument that already dominated the city skyline? Some suggest these chambers were places of preparation, where initiates fasted, prayed, and performed rites before ascending the steps. Others believe they were repositories, vaults for sacred texts, forbidden knowledge, or even objects of power the Sumerians claimed had been given to them by the gods. But there is another possibility, one that casts the ziggurats in an even stranger light. What if these chambers were not only ceremonial, but functional? Storage for something volatile, perhaps. Spaces designed to insulate sound or energy. Rooms that were part of a larger system, concealed because their purpose was too advanced or too dangerous for the ordinary world. Imagine it. Priests descending into torchlit corridors, their chants echoing against the walls, unlocking mechanisms hidden within stone. To the faithful, it was religion. To the few who truly knew, it was a code, a ritual not of worship, but of control. And this leaves us with the most unsettling question of all. Were the ziggurats truly stairways to heaven? Or were they doors, built to open something far more earthly and far more powerful? If you strip away the dust of centuries and look at a ziggurat not as a temple, but as a system, something remarkable emerges. Each tier rises in deliberate stages, narrowing toward the heavens like a pyramid sliced into steps. Each layer built from millions of bricks infused with materials chosen not only for strength, but for how they react to heat, to sound, even to pressure. To the eye of faith, it was a stairway to the gods. To the eye of science, it begins to look unnervingly like a machine. Imagine standing in the heart of Ur's great ziggurat as a storm rolled over the desert. Lightning struck the air, thunder shook the ground, and thousands of bricks, layered, baked, aligned, could have responded like a giant resonator. Some theories suggest that these monuments captured natural forces, vibration, magnetism, even static charge from the skies. And if they did, then what the priests called divine presence may have been something else entirely. Energy. But here is the deeper mystery. Why code this knowledge into temples disguised as religion? Why cloak technology inside worship? Unless the builders feared it falling into the wrong hands. Unless the stairways were not meant for everyone, but only for those who could read the code. Those who knew that gods were not the only power dwelling above. Because hidden in these ancient towers may lie the first blueprint of a truth humanity still chases. That our ancestors built not only to honor the gods, but to harness the forces the gods themselves once commanded. And if that is true, then the ziggurats are not silent ruins. They are messages, left in stone, waiting for us to finally understand. The desert keeps its secrets well, and yet the ziggurats remain, massive stairways of stone rising defiantly against time, as if daring us to solve the riddle carved into their tiers. Were they simply temples? Places where priests offered sacrifices to appease distant gods? Or were they something far stranger? Giant instruments that could channel sound, align with the stars, and even harness energy from the earth and sky. Every discovery only deepens the paradox. The alignments with celestial events are too precise to ignore. The acoustics too deliberate to dismiss. The hidden chambers too secret to explain away as mere storage. Each clue pulls us further from religion and closer to a design that feels coded. And the code whispers of a knowledge the Sumerians should not have had. If these were machines, then machines for what? To speak to the gods? To open gateways between realms? To generate power centuries before electricity was even imagined? Or could it be that the ziggurats themselves were the gods in stone form, living structures that connected heaven and earth, sustaining the very lifeblood of Sumerian civilization? The truth is buried under thousands of years of dust, and perhaps that is by design, because codes are meant to be broken only by those ready to understand them. So when you look at the ziggurat of Ur, or the ruins of Chogha Zanbil, or the fragments of Dur Kurigalzu, ask yourself, are you seeing a temple of faith? Or are you staring at the remnants of a machine, a blueprint of power that still waits, silent and unread, for someone to unlock it? Because maybe, just maybe, the gods never descended those stairways at all. Maybe the ziggurats were built to lift humanity up to a knowledge we once held and lost. And if the code is still there, what happens the day we finally crack it? But what if the ziggurats were only the beginning? Across the world, we find echoes of the same idea. Pyramids in Egypt, step temples in Mesoamerica, terraced towers in Asia. Different cultures, different eras, yet the same towering forms, the same stairways reaching skyward. Coincidence? Or a forgotten language of architecture? Some believe the Sumerians unlocked a principle that spread, echoed, or was rediscovered across continents. That the ziggurat was not an isolated invention, but the first in a long chain of monuments built to tap into the same force, the same code. If so, then the question grows darker. Who gave them this knowledge? The Sumerians themselves admitted their wisdom came from beyond. Their gods, Anunnaki, Enki, Enlil, were said to descend from the heavens, gifting humanity with writing, law, and architecture. Were these gods simply myths, or memories of something else? Because when you stand before the ruins of a ziggurat and look upward, it does not feel like you are gazing at a shrine. It feels like you are looking at an antenna, a bridge transmitting in both directions. And if that's true, then perhaps the Ziggurat Code was not just about harnessing energy. Perhaps it was about communication. Communication with something beyond Earth. The stairs, the bricks, the alignments, they were all part of a system. A system designed to channel sound, light, and human ritual into a single purpose, to send a message upward and to wait for an answer. And maybe, just maybe, the ruins are silent now, not because the code failed, but because the message was already received. If the ziggurats were part of a code, then perhaps the ruins we see today are only fragments of a larger message. Think about it. Entire cities were built around these towers. Life revolved not around markets or palaces, but around the ziggurat. Priests climbed its stairs daily, rituals were timed with the movements of the stars, and offerings flowed upward as if feeding not just the gods, but the structure itself. Could it be that the entire city was designed like circuitry? Each street, each canal, each dwelling aligned to direct energy toward the ziggurat at its heart? A living organism with the ziggurat as the brain? Some researchers point to curious patterns. The spacing of certain temples mirrors the distances of planets. The layers of bricks echo mathematical ratios. Even the number of steps and terraces seem coded, as though the Sumerians embedded formulas into stone. Were they encoding their cosmology, or hiding something more advanced? A technology so dangerous it had to be veiled as religion. And here lies the most unsettling thought. If ziggurats were part of a code, then the code was never meant to stay in Mesopotamia. It was meant to be read by someone, or something, that could see the bigger picture, not from the ground, but from above. Because from the sky, the ziggurats form patterns invisible at ground level. constellations mirrored in brick and clay. Messages only visible from a vantage point the Sumerians should never have had, unless they were building for those who did. So we stand at the edge of two worlds, history and speculation. On one side, the ziggurat is explained away as religion, a temple for rituals, a symbol of power, a stairway for mortals to approach their gods. This is the story etched into textbooks, carved into museum plaques, retold until it feels certain. But on the other side is the code, the geometry that mirrors the stars, the acoustics that bend sound into resonance, the chambers that hide what should not exist, the bricks, layered not as simple clay, but as conductors, parts of a system we have not yet decoded. And if that is true, then the ziggurats were not just monuments of faith. They were machines. Machines that once pulsed with energy. Machines that turned ritual into power. Machines that aligned humanity with the heavens in ways we no longer understand. The Sumerians claimed their knowledge came from the gods. Were those gods only myths, stories to explain mysteries? Or were they memories of beings who once walked among them, teaching them to build stairways that could channel forces beyond imagination? We may never know. Because the ziggurats that survive today are broken, stripped, weathered by thousands of years of silence. Whatever they once did, they no longer do. And yet, the silence is the loudest clue of all. Because codes are not written for the past. They are written for the future. So perhaps the Ziggurat Code was never meant for the Sumerians alone. Perhaps it was left behind, waiting for another age, another people, another moment when humanity would once again be ready to climb the stairs, not in faith, but in understanding. And when that moment comes, when the code is cracked and the stairways awaken, what will we discover at the top? A god? A machine? Or something neither? And both? The answer waits, still carved into the ruins. Silent, patient, unbroken. The ziggurats are watching, and the question they hold is simple. Will we dare to climb again?